So the Astros lost last night. Hunter Brown was pretty good.
I was hoping we would just not talk about them.
Okay.
I almost pulled it off. Yeah, Hunter Brown was great, Joe, and they effing blew it. That's what's the worst part about it. That's the best start for Hunter Brown this year. It's one of the best starts by any Astro this year in a big-time spot on the road against the team in first place. And what do you do for him? Just 2 runs.
You dumped the bet again.
I can't even believe that home run got out, Joe George.
It was easy.
Mr.
Easy.
Joe George. Well, it looked, Mr. Joe George, with the ball going as high up in the air, like the marine layer of Seattle would perhaps knock that puppy down.
Yeah, it just looked like one of his typical pop-ups. Well, a little farther. Normally his pop-ups don't leave the infield, Alex Bregman's. So at least this one I thought was going to get to the warning track.
He popped it out of the ballpark, but as in our show rundown, you noted, once again, all the runs come in 1 inning.
Yeah. I saw someone else tweeting about this first, and I know Blummer talked about it last night,
right
too.
At the end of the broadcast, right before the Astros ultimately lost the game.
So in their last 6 games, the Astros have scored all of their runs in 1 inning. Yesterday, it was 2 runs in the 4th. The day before, 2 runs in the 5th. 5 runs in the 4th, 1 run in the 6th, 6 runs in the 4th, 1 run in the 5th. So the last 6 games, they only have 6 innings in which they've scored runs.
Yes.
How? How is that possible?
Especially with this offense and with the fact that they are statistically towards the top of the league in a lot of hitting categories. It's insane that these 1-run innings are essentially the only runfall instead of rainfall that we're getting. I feel that it's going to be one of those things that as the season progresses, we'll talk more and more about. But I think right now, because it feels like in Edge of Tomorrow, where there's one of 3 things that happens in every game. The starter stinks. The offense doesn't get enough runs across the plate. The bullpen blows it. We've seen those things happen so many times that we sort of forget about the offense being the big problem right now, much like at times it was a problem in the ALCS against the Rangers last year. And throw on top of it that Jose Abreu's back, and Jose Abreu's very easy to find, whether you're a ball screaming down the first base line, a ball thrown by Alex Bregman towards you. You should have been able to catch that, I think. Or
Agreed.
On top of that, it's just a fastball coming down the plate and you're going to swing and miss at it. There's just so many things to look at right now that you forget that the offense, despite all of those great statistics, still, for whatever reason, struggles to score runs.
The Astros are 8-16 this year in 1-run games or 2-run games. They're 5-11 in 1-run games, 3-5 in 2-run games. So they're 8-16 overall. That's not good. The blame game. There's a lot to go around. Jose Abreu, Ryan Presley. You can blame Joe Espada for just pitching letting them pitch to Julio Rodriguez. There's a lot with last night. The offense as a whole was just not good. Where do you put the most blame on last night's loss?
I'm putting the most blame for last night's loss on Ryan Presley, who I said at the beginning of yesterday's show, I don't trust him. And I mean, you take a look at the way things went down in the 8th inning, where the Astros went into it with a 2-1 lead, hoping that Ryan Presley would be the Ryan Presley that we know. He allows a hard hit double from his first batter faced. He had the next batter down 0-2 after 2 failed bunts. He somehow not only got the runner who got to second with the double to third base with a wild pitch, he walked this guy who was clearly just trying to bunt him over. He did that guy's job getting him over to third, and he did that guy's job getting him on base. He gets a strikeout. Then after that, the liner down the first base line. It was hard hit. It would have been a tough play for Jose Abreu, of all people, to make. That ultimately ties the game. And then after that, a dribbler leads to hesitation by Bregman. I don't really mind throwing to Rodriguez there. What I do mind is that Ryan Presley is the reason that this inning got out of hand. There's lots of other things to point at. I mean, it's about as embarrassing an inning as it got. Yainer Diaz even got hit in the nads by a foul tip.
Oh, tough.
You know, everything went poorly in that specific half inning, but it all started with Ryan Presley, who put the first runner on and got the second runner on with an 0-2 count.
Yeah, and even the people who are, this is why Ryan Presley should pitch the 7th inning, not the 8th inning. Mitch Haniger is the 8th batter in the lineup, and Bliss is the 9th. He faced the 8th and 9th guys in the lineup, and that's what you're talking about here, is the double and the walk to Haniger and Bliss. He's facing, in theory, the worst part of the order. The only person who's there who should be a challenge, if you look at just batting order or in terms of talent even, is Crawford when the order turns around, when hopefully you already have 2 outs. Presley, broken, old, just sucks. I don't even know which ones fit him the most.
Old. I would say old.
I think it's old.
But what I do know is I don't trust him, and I don't really know how to best use him anymore. I mean, Brian Abreu was great in the 7th inning. Should Brian Abreu be pitching in the 8th? He's been pitching better of late, though. You still, from time to time, get the one run across the plate with him on the hill, too. And, you think about it. Was that a situation where you're going to call on Josh Hader for a 2-inning save? Should that have been the situation that you use it?
Yes.
Especially considering I don't believe that they used him on Monday night. So, it's just something to keep in mind. Like, hey, you have this guy who is willing to pitch multiple innings. Why not use him to pitch multiple innings?
You worked so hard as an organization to try to turn your season around, to get it within 3.5 games of being behind the Mariners going into yesterday's series, or into the start of the series on Monday. Now you're back to 5.5 games out of first place with Verlander and Arrighetti on the mound. You probably should have won at least one of these games. Even though the offense wasn't good in either of them, you should have won one of these games. You're right there in both of them. Probably last night's game more than the other, because Hunter Brown gave you so much in last night's game. It is crazy how this team, for more than a year now, because I think this still goes back earlier into last season when they started off and they were struggling. They just cannot play collective baseball. They cannot have a day in which the bullpen, the bats, and the rotation are consistently good. You might get 2 out of 3, but so oftentimes that third piece is so bad.
Right.
But this year, you're lucky to get one of those things to be good.
It always feels like one of them is missing, and the cherry on top of all of it, as Ryan Presley blows yet another save opportunity, it's Ryan Stanek on the other mound who is sending you down in order in the 9th inning.
Yeah, HRW here on the Twitch says flip Stressley and Abreu. You can, but to what I was saying, Stressley was facing the worst part of the lineup. He should be able to get those guys. Like that to me was their strategy from the beginning. Was Abreu should face the better guys. When you're looking at the 7th and 8th inning in the lineup, Joe Espada's decision was simple. If it was 3, 4, 5 batting in the 7th, that's Abreu. If they were batting in the 8th, that's Abreu. But now, not even Presley. I don't even know if we should be talking about flipping Presley and Abreu. I don't really want Presley out there in a close game right now. There's no trust.
And if Josh Hader is capable of giving you 2 innings and didn't pitch the night before, I get it. You're pitching a ton of games in a row, but you're playing Seattle right now. You needed to win that game.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you went from being 3.5 back in the AL West to 5.5 in 2 nights. And I mean, this series isn't over. The Astros are always bad against Mariners pitching, and I don't feel any better about the next 2 nights. They got the 2-run homer, and they got the great outing from Hunter Brown. They needed more runs, and the offense definitely deserves some blame here. Ryan Presley deserves some blame. Joe Espada perhaps deserves some blame for what you mentioned. On top of that, I mean, it's another day where you're DHing Singleton and playing Jose Abreu at first base. I don't know, maybe play the guy who's better at first base, especially when there were 2 moments in the 8th inning.
I mean, last night, to
Abreu came into question his defense. Because, I mean, whether it was not getting that ground ball that line drive down the first base line that bounced off of his glove, which apparently had an expected batting average of 200 on it. I mean, he made a diving play, but he didn't come down with it. And if he stays in front of it, no run scores. Or it's where Bregman throws it away. I don't know. I thought Abreu did a very poor job of trying to get that ball. And that's 2 moments. And we've already added a couple of moments in game number 1 where you're looking at Jose Abreu's defense and you're wondering just how good he is there. John Singleton's been good at defense at the very least. And instead, Abreu is not only playing the field after not having played in a month, and on top of that, questioning his fielding ability, he is also hitting. And it looks like that's a problem that is still No, not fixed at all.
And the biggest problem with it is now Chaz and Dubon apparently don't play on this team. Like you've had all this success, things are going well. Like your season's turning around. Bring back Jose Abreu, and then that means Dubon and Chaz can't play. Makes so much sense. Mauricio Dubon, who's been incredible with runners in scoring position this season, not on the field. Chaz McCormick, who came back from injury, apparently he's not going to play at this point either. Jordan's going to be your left fielder. I'm curious to see what the lineup looks like tonight. And we're going to get down with Dana Brown at 1 o'clock to talk about what he said in his typical interview with the flagship. They're a not serious organization. Dana Brown talked about how they are going to try to give him a shot. If he doesn't turn it around at some point, they'll have to make a decision. The decision's been made. Like, get your head out of your ass. He's not good. He's not going to be good. And the trickle-down effect with him having to be on the roster is negatively impacting this team in a massive, massive way because your better players can't play because there's no room for them in the lineup. It makes no sense what they're doing. I really wish I could understand and figure it out, but it makes no logical sense.
Would it have been so insulting to pinch hit Mauricio Dubon for Jose Abreu late in the game?
They did it before he got sent to Florida.
Right, exactly. It's not like that was not happening before the Florida switch. And I get it. You're trying to get him back on track, but getting him back on track should not come at the expense of wins and losses. He was up in the 7th, and with a reliever out there, he struck out swinging, and it was a 3-pitch strikeout.
Mm-hmm. It's not good. It's not good. You think the bat speed looks quick to you, Paul?
I don't care. I don't care. I mean, I feel like I'm just watching the same thing over and over again every single night where one problem is there every single night. But it's a matter of which one on a given night. It's either the starter doesn't show up, it's the bats don't show up, or it's the bullpen blows a lead.